All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you guys for joining us today once again on another episode of Big Dog Chico Show with an exclusive interview. We won't keep you guys long, but we do have a very busy pastor. He is Dr. Pastor Dewey Smith, is the senior pastor, teacher of the House of Hope in Atlanta, the House of Hope in Macon, and the House of Hope WestPointe. One church in three locations. A proud native, of Macon, Georgia. He has been a minister of the gospel for over 30 years, and I'm blessed and lucky to have him on with us right now. He's a mentor, a friend, and also, you can add to the list, a recruiter and the pastor of the one and only Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. Y'all give it up for Pastor Dewey Smith. How you doing, Pastor? Thank you for
I'm
joining me.
good. I'm good, Chico. How you doing, my friend?
I'm making it. Just got off a long call myself, and matter of fact, the person I was on the call with told me to ask you about. We'll get right into it. He told me to ask you about a time where, and I think you mentioned this in a previous interview, but a time where Coach Prime was going through all the things he was going through in Jackson, Mississippi, and he was in a hospital right after surgery. He said you came to visit him, and he said he couldn't recognize you. He had no idea who you were, and he told me to ask you about that.
Yeah, man, it's interesting. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm humbled and honored to be a part of what you're doing. It's exciting. You do such a great job, and anything I can do to assist uh, the University of Colorado and my friend, one of my best friends, Coach Sanders, I'm available to do that. You know, we've been friends for many years and close um, down through the years. And I remember one night having a dream, and he was immobilized. And I called him. I said, man, something is happening. I said, but the next step in your life, your next move, you won't be known by your steps anymore. It's going to be by your sound. As long as you got that voice, even if the steps are short. A few weeks later, man, he called, and he was in excruciating pain. And inevitably, he went to surgery. And we had a lot of conversations about that. When I got down there to check on him, man, he was completely incoherent. Didn't know who I was. He just come out of surgery, and I prayed with him, and they were talking about him losing his life, not just losing his leg, but the possibility of losing his life, man. And they discovered blood clots, and ended up having to amputate his toes. And a few days later, he was, back on the field, man, in the freezing cold, in a blanket. I'm like, man, you just got surgery, man. But he loved that team so much at Jackson. That's what people don't know. They don't see the heart, the sacrifices that he made then and he still makes now. And he was on that field, man. And I said to him, I'm gonna always be by your side. And man, he said, one day I'm gonna run out on the field again. And it was so beautiful when we went to Boulder, first game, a home game. He said, let's claim this field together. We walked the field together, man. And it was just a beautiful sight, man. And so I'm just glad that God is, and the doctors have gotten him back in the health so he can do what he feels he's been called to do.
Definitely, and you prophesized that one when you said that his voice more than his steps, and that's exactly what a coach is. Coach is using his voice, his influence to help guide all of these kids, from being boys to men, as he likes to say. And I think you've been doing the same thing because you've been guiding some of the guys who you feel like have that great character, but also athletic ability to Coach Prime in Colorado. If you can you talk about maybe some of the guys that you are influencing, so to speak, or should I say, helping out or trying to direct down the right path? Can you talk about some of those guys in the relationship that you have with all of the guys that you mentoring and helping to bring a positive light to?
Well, I played sports. I was a multi-sports athlete in high school and had opportunity even to play football. In college, I went into ministry inevitably, and after not participating in competitive sports again, when I started pastoring, I started being involved in sports leagues, football, basketball, and so man, I've been a coach now since I was in high school with youth sports, and whether it be basketball, baseball, football, I personally run my own youth league at our church in basketball. I've done that since 2010. And we have about 300 kids every weekend who converge on our campus for AAU basketball. Been doing that since 2010. As a matter of fact, several kids who are now in the NBA all came through my gym. Anthony Edwards, who's with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Shout out
Yes.
to man. Jabari Smith, who's with the Houston Rockets.
Yes.
Walker Kessler, who's with Utah. Colin Sexton played in my gym as well. BJ Boston, who's with the Los Angeles Clippers. Ashton Hagans, who's with the Portland Trailblazers. I can go on and on
Wow.
from those who are now in the NBA, and a great number who also playing football. Kid who almost grew up in my house, Chris Rodriguez. He and my son were the best of friends, and of course he went to the University of Kentucky. Stopped playing basketball, played football, and now he's with the Washington Redskins. The other kid, oh my goodness, from University of Alabama. He was the third pick. He's, oh my God, what's wrong with my mind? But he defensive end
Yeah.
for Alabama. He's now with the Houston Texans. Came up playing basketball in my gym, and so I've been doing this for a very, very long time. We've probably put about 350, 400 kids in Division I sports over the past few years, and so being somebody who's a sports aficionado, I just have always been involved. My sons both were athletes, and my oldest son, offered for basketball when he was coming out of high school. My baby boy who's graduating. So I just been involved with this for a while, and so I just have relationships with all the kids through my programs. It'll be football. I've coached baseball. I've coached basketball. I've coached football, and so I've just been involved. And so they're too numerable to count, but I have relationships with kids all over Atlanta, really all over the nation, because I got family and friends who kind of trust me, and colleagues. And so I love sports. I love faith, but sports, I don't know where I'd be without sports, and I think that's so important. Raven Johnson, who the point guard for the University of South Carolina, she just won a national championship with Don Staley's team. Raven grew up in
Yes.
my gym playing basketball against the boys. She grew up
Yeah.
right there in my. So I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and I'm just very excited about it.
Well, give us your sports background real quick, because
Well,
I've seen other interviews. You mention it, but they don't really ask you about it. So tell us your sports background.
I
Actually.
played football, and that's where I had opportunity to play football in ACC, and of course to Division II schools. But I played basketball up until 11th grade, but football and baseball were my main sports. I also ran some track up until 11th grade. So, but football was my main sport. I was safety and played some quarterback. So just I was a decent athlete, not going to be professional.
Yeah.
I was a little above mid, as Shadu would say. So I wasn't. So I was a little bit above mid, but I'm not. But I wasn't going to be a superstar by no means. I could have played Division I.
All right.
Yeah, so I was
Coach,
pretty fast. I ran about 4.5 40 and played shortstop in baseball and third base. I was shooting guard in basketball, and I ran the 100, 200, 400 relay in 4x1 in high school.
nice. Okay. Because Coach Prime, when he was describing you and talking about your recruiting tactics and your recruiting prowess, he said, "Hey, when Pastor tell you a player, he gonna be intricate with it. He gonna tell you this about him. He gonna tell you that a lot more things. Just like a scout, he said you'll break it down to him when you talk
Yeah, I mean,
about these players.
yeah, it's important, man, because when you can have a lot of talented kids, young men, young women, but do you have the intangibles?
Mm-hmm.
Do you? Sometimes they can be gifted, but don't want to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I played ball, sometimes the most gifted athletes are the ones who have the worst attitudes. Do they have
Yep.
the family support? How are they academically? How are they with processing information? How do they handle adversity? You know what I mean? And so when I look at all these different entities, I have to ask myself, okay, our mantra is we want guys who are smart, fast, tough, disciplined, and with character. And so when I
Right.
talk to my brother, about what we do, I know what he's about. We want kids who want it. And there's a lot of the old school principles that you show up, yes sir, no sir, be on time, study the film, and so a lot of people look at my brother, Coach Prime, like he's some tyrant, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
somebody being a tyrant or being a dictator. There's a standard, and we want you to
Right.
be complete and comprehensive. So when I recommend a player, the most important thing for me is I don't want to put my name on anybody who's not going to come and show up and do what they want to do. Because what happens then, if I recommend somebody and I tell you they're a dog and they turn out to be a puppy and a cat, then you're not going to take my word for it anymore. So I want my
Exactly.
word to mean something. So when I say you can trust this person, here's what they do, it's because I know sports. I'm incredibly analytical. I know it. I'm intricately involved with it. I study it, and so I know. So I look at them just like a scout: times, measurables, intangibles, those types of things, but also the stuff that you don't see. And I watch those things very close as well.
Mm-hmm.
How their behavior on the sideline, how they respond to their teammates. You know what I mean? How do they respond to coaches? What do they do when they made a mistake? You know, what
Yeah.
do they do when they're angry? I watch all that, not just what you do physically. You can run a 4.240, but if you have a stink and a foul attitude, I won't deal with you.
Exactly. Exactly. What are some of the things that you saw this year from Coach Prime? Good, bad, ugly. What are some of the things that we saw this year that kind of stood out to you, and some of the things that maybe we're gonna improve on?
Well, first of all, when we left the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta, and that's the day we talked about it, and that's a whole nother story. But we left Atlanta, and he was going to make the announcement, the press conference for the University of Colorado. We talked about him wanting to increase the standard, and of course, the Buffs had not had a winning season in some years, and he wanted to challenge the people who were there to see how bad they wanted it, and to shock the system. So when they're
Mm-hmm.
like, guys, I want you to jump in the portal. A lot of people didn't know that, but it wasn't, people called it offensive, but it was really psychological. It's really, let me ask you a question to see, will you man up and say, I want to be here?
Right.
I agree with
Yep.
everything that he did in that aspect. Now, when he said, I'm bringing my own luggage and it's Louis, some people took that to mean, okay, what are you saying about, are you calling the ones who are here Samsonite? So people can kind of parse and find, but I knew what he was trying to say. I want to bring some guys with me who are ready to play. And so that statement, but that's not Deion Sanders. That was prime time.
Mm-hmm.
That's coach. People don't know the difference. I know Deion Sanders. Most
Yeah.
folks know, they know prime time or coach prime. They don't, there's a difference. And so there's an appeal, there's a swag, there is an approach that he brings that has made him who he is. So when we got there last December, we had to get the play. You had to determine who's going to be in the foxhole. And so a
Yeah.
lot of guys, they want to run because they want to just continue to do what they've been doing. You can't have a 1-11 season and come and do the same thing you've been doing. So to say, if you're not a man, jump in the portal. If you're not going to bring it, jump in the portal. I'll bring some guys who are going to be with me. The intent was to challenge the ones who were there to say, okay, well, you bringing Louis? Well, guess what? I'm not Samsonite, baby. You going to Louis? Well, you didn't get me from the flea market. So that was the
Exactly.
goal. And you got some who understood that, like Charlie, like Trevor Woods, and a host of others, and sadly, there's a lot of conversation about the ones who left, not about the ones who stayed, who took the challenge and who took it to another level. So that's number one. The second thing was, there was some challenges with some of the coaches early on. And we knew this before the season started. And in retrospect, I wish he had made some decisions about the coaching staff before the season started.
Mm.
Because inevitably, what was in his gut before the season started, it manifested, up until now. And so sometimes that first instinct, and we talked about it, is the best
Yep.
one. And sometimes, if you think long, you think wrong. And I
Yes.
believe, and so the other piece is we had to take what we could take out of the portal. When you get there in December, you don't have time for recruiting for high schools. So and with the portal, you had to just take what you can get. So we took a lot of players who look for different opportunities, and that's great. But a lot of the players had not played significant time in their previous schools. And so
Right.
trying to put that together in short order is difficult, but he's a great man. He's learning. And I like how he's approached it.
Yes. I think that you hit it right on the head. The way he handles everything and the way he approaches these things. You see now, even today and yesterday, social media going crazy, and he's having to respond.
Yeah. Well, we had a
Some
conversation.
people are. I was gonna say some people criticizing him for that. What is your take on all these things that's going on, and how would you chime in?
Well, we had a conversation about that, and he always would ask me my opinion. That's why I love him, because, he's prime time. He's Deion Sanders. So to ask a preacher to ask an opinion of a preacher, you know what I mean? But he considers me a friend, and then he doesn't mind being held accountable. There have been times I
Yes.
said, "Oh, no, bro, we're not doing it that way," and not one time have I ever said, "No, you got to check that. No, that's wrong." Not one time have I ever said that. And I've known him 20 years. Not one time have I ever said that to him. He invites it. He would tell me I
Mm-hmm.
did something wrong. So what people don't realize is when you're constantly being berated, there is not a coach who's had the vitriol and the hatred and the attacks and the hit pieces written about him. And so when Shador responds to somebody by saying they're mid, the guy, well, he's, first of all, Shador is he's defending his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so now he's being killed all on social media for Twitter antics. And Shador is one of the greatest teammates you can ever find. I'm on the sideline game after game after game after game, and he took a beating.
Yes.
He came to the sideline one time, he could barely walk. And I went to talk to him, and he just threw his hand up because we talk a lot. He goes to the bench, and not one time did you ever see him screaming or throwing his O-lineman under the bus.
Yep.
So people talked about this guy. He's defending his dad. They call that antics. Well, what about Baker Mayfield when he was at Oklahoma? What about Johnny Manziel? What about Jameson Winston? What Jameis Winston? What about I can go on and on and on and on and on. To say at best this guy was mid, that's not a Twitter antic. That's somebody who's defending their father. Now,
Right.
friend, when he responded, and I think to the tweet of somebody who said your son is not going to do something, and he responded, my son's going to be in, the top 5 pick. People would criticize him for that. To me, that's a father defending his son. Now, what I said to him is, listen, brother, every night, the moon comes out and dogs bark at the moon. Not one time on CNN, not one time have you ever seen a story on CNN that says dogs bark at the moon. I said, but the first time the moon barks back at dogs, it's going to be worldwide news. So you got to learn that you are the moon, and don't bark back at dogs. I mean, because when irrelevance tries to attach itself to relevance, to make irrelevance relevance. So why are you talking to somebody with 300 followers? But then again, I have not walked in his shoes. I have not been the subject of that kind of hate and vitriol. So that's why I have to be sensitive. I have my perspective on it, and I wish he hadn't said anything. But you should never criticize a man's steps if you haven't walked in his shoes. So I just told him, man, stop doing that. Everybody doesn't deserve your attention. Why are you talking about to somebody with 300 followers? Don't give them signature with your signature. You keep focusing, but he's like, Pastor, I had this going on, and they attacking my family, talking to my son. You got time? Okay, well, have time. Let's do something else. Okay, we're not doing that. We're not going to do any more of that. Focus on building. I need your energy and your focus on building, because it's all a distraction. But at the end of the day, even that, Chico, you tell me, when have you seen a 4-18 this relevant? When have you seen a 4-18 that completely dominates social media? And what does that tell you? So whether you love or hate us, you got to talk about us. And that's because of the standards.
Yes. And like he said, I think that the establishment feels threatened. So they're going to come at you all different ways and to affect you. And like he says all the time, to infect you. And that comes from the inside, right? So they're going to try all different ways to come at you.
Think about this. A coach's wife last year called Shador the B word. A coach's wife. Nobody said a word about that.
Right.
Nobody said this coach's wife is ridiculing or downing. Not one word about it. Right? The moment Coach Prime says, Lord Jesus, he was really
Lord
talking.
Jesus.
He was really talking about what Dalvin posted, not the kid. Like, man, why are you trying to? He was saying, why you attacking that kid? Like, that's really what he was saying. But why
Yeah.
is it only magnified? He never said anything about that kid. I know personally. This is what I know. There have been 9 to 10 kids that didn't participate in spring games at all. There have been kids that jumped in the portal with 1.6 and 1.7 GPAs. There have been kids that jumped in the portal who wouldn't come to meetings and would be missing for 5 hours, but come back with tattoos what they've gotten freshly done. I can go on and on and on, but people see the other stuff. When have you ever seen walk-ons get this much attention when they jump in the portal? Many of whom haven't been with the team since last season. So it's all magnified. The more you're in the light exposes every flaw. And so because of who he is, because of the University of Colorado, people are going to always have something to say. And so I'm just trying to encourage him to stay focused on the big picture and don't lower yourself. Don't come down to these little meager and peripheral and circumferential conversations. You got to stay up. Don't let them bring you down. I think he said, I had time. But when somebody keeps attacking your family, you keep backing a cat into a wall, a cat's going to come out now. I don't care who you are. You know, people say, he's Christian. Listen, I'm Christian. I'm a Christian. But if you hit me on one cheek, I promise you I'm not turning the other one. I promise you. Keep hitting me on my cheek. I promise you, I'm not going to turn the cheek. After a while, I'm going to put these hands on you in Jesus' name, right? So the truth is, we're all human, right? I mean, you laughing at me, but I'm just telling you the truth.
I know it.
We human, man. And you keep poking the bear. And sometimes don't be surprised if something comes out that's not the most favorable response. Let's be real now.
For real, you can't do something to somebody and tell them how to respond. Come on now.
Right.
Come on now.
Right.
And furthermore, shout out to Steve Harvey, because you said, Steve said, the Lord is still working on me. If somebody slapped me, I might turn that other cheek. But when I turn it, you better not be around there, because I'm coming back with some.
Listen,
I'm going to turn it.
Yeah.
But you better not be there.
Man, a Christian doesn't mean that you let people walk over you. And man, and just the hatred. But you said something earlier, the establishment. Yeah. And I don't want to bring race into this, but I think it is. We've never seen Division I, Power 5, or Power 4 head coach who is uniquely urban.
Yes.
Who is not afraid to be who themselves. The gold chains.
Right.
Sunglasses.
Right.
Not worried about, he can use slang. Not worried about dotting every I, crossing every T from a nomenclature or linguistic perspective. I mean,
uses the word "ain't" in a slogan and wears it on his chest proudly.
We coming. You know what I mean?
Ain't no we're.
Right. So that's, I mean, to have entertainers and celebrities who involve so people not used to that. Most of the time when you've had Division I African American coaches, most of the time, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but I'm just giving you my assessment of it.
Right.
They have to conform or capitulate or assimilate to really not be that. Most of the time they're clean shaven.
Yes.
Right. A lot of times, so they end up a lot of times being the person who is safe or something that they're more familiar with. Exactly. We've never seen somebody who's that urban and who's not afraid to tell you they're from Florida, who's got swag, who's clean, that's something that's different, who's got swag. Most of them are very vanilla, very conservative, clean shaven, they dot every I, they walk a very fine line. A lot of them, are married to women of other ethnic persuasions. You know what I mean? So it's a fine line. That's not a knock against anybody, but he's different. But he's different. And sometimes people think that different means deficient, but it's not. And he does what he does because he knows marketing, he knows advertisement, and a lot of people have hated the swagger or the loudness, but it's not. But that's not an arrogant bonus. But he's confident. But he believes in walking in the fullness of who he is and having a good time. And he's a bright light. He's a very bright light. and he would give you the shirt off of his back, and he loved those kids. That's the thing that hurts me. People try to impugn or disparage his character, saying he only cares about his own sons. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
I sent players to him when he was at Truth Academy from my church who were in trouble. Kids whose father died. I said, man, I got a kid. His mama can't control him. Can you get him? Put him on a bus ticket, send him a plane ticket, bring him down there to get him straightened out. A couple of those kids that I sent to him, this has been years. This is before Jackson State. This is before Trinity Christian. People talk about what they don't know. And those kids are now on the straight and narrow, went to college, graduated. So this is how far back we go. But people love to criticize that what they don't know. And so he's not a perfect person. I'm his brother, I'm his friend. And when I have a challenge with something, or he has a challenge with me, we talk. We hold each other accountable. But but I'm not gonna let people disparage a man that they don't know because of a lack of context. Not gonna do that. Not gonna do that.
All right. I got to talk about coming up with this season right here. What are your expectations? What do you see on the horizon? What do you see coming for the Buffs this upcoming season?
Well, Peggy wants playoffs, and Peggy Peggy wants a bowl game.
Yes.
Peggy wants a bowl.
Now you can say playoffs.
Well,
playoffs would be even better, right?
I got you, but we're gonna start with a bowl game.
Okay.
We're gonna start with a bowl game. We're gonna start, but nothing wrong with having high expectations. But we're gonna make it to a bowl game. We're gonna make it to a bowl game. We're gonna be ultra competitive. We've completely revamped the offensive line. We have 10 offensive linemen. Well, now 11 offensive linemen.
11, yeah.
Only 2 of them weigh under 300 pounds. Our second, well, you know, I don't know how you do it, but some are projecting that the second team offensive line
unit,
second unit is going to be a 330-pound average weight. I'm not sure how it's going to pan out, but last year we looked like, you know, we didn't look people disparaged our size. We couldn't play against the big boys, Oregon. We were outmanned. The defensive line, we got some of the best edge rushers in the nation. You understand?
Definitely.
We're going to be able to rotate them. We're getting some beef in the middle of the line. Our secondary is going to be, we got Travis Hunter back there and Shiloh back there. We've got Silman Craig back there.
Craig,
my nephew Colton Hood is a stud and a star.
Yes.
We've got R.J. Johnson, a new kid from Arkansas who I've known since he was 8 or 9 years old. Looking to still improve that. We got arguably the best wide receiver core in all of college football. We got 4 more wide receivers coming in. Baby T.O. We've got Will Shepherd coming in. We've got Draylon Miller coming in. And let me tell you, there's another kid right here from Statesboro, Georgia. His name Cam McHale. He is a junkyard dog raised with gunpowder in his food. Our running back room has been completely revamped. We've got my young nephew Brandon Hood. People don't know who he is, but remember that name.
Ran the 10-8 in the 100-meter dash.
Remember that name. I told Coach about Michael Welch. Michael Welch and Brandon Hood played youth basketball. Mike is from Baldwin County, and Brandon played in Newton County. They came up 10 years old, 19 years old, playing together. Brandon, Colton, and Michael. I told Coach last summer, I said, there's a kid in Baldwin County named Michael Welch, built like a fire hydrant, one as tougher than nails. Man, let me tell you something. He's like, are you sure? Man, am I sure? Is the Pope Catholic? I told him. None of them believe me. Now they see the truth. We've got the other kid from Ohio State, another young man from Fayetteville, Georgia. 6'2", 330 pounds. Oh my God. And Charlie?
And Amos. And Charlie.
And Amos.
Michael Welch. Oh my gosh.
And then to top it all off, behind center, you got that number 2. Listen, 70% completion rate, sacked
Yes.
52 times, behind a line that struggled significantly behind a scheme that was not best suited for his talents or best suited for our personnel last year. And you got Pat Shermer. Listen. Now let's talk about the coaching staff.
So
Rob,
underrated.
oh my goodness. Playoffs. First of all, bowl game. I would not be shocked in any way, shape, form, or fashion when the Big 12 comes around and Colorado's not mentioned. I wouldn't be shocked by no means. So let people keep talking. I see people, they're going to be 4-8, 4-8. Keep talking. Bookmark that tweet. Just bookmark it. Let's have this conversation next November. Have this conversation.
You mentioned the Hood brothers,
Yes.
B and Colton. Colton was just on the interview the other day I saw, and then Big Zach Owens also, the big fella, and R.J. Johnson. What's your connection with Eagles Landing Christian Academy?
You know, I coached at Eagles Landing. My sons went to Eagles Landing High School. I coached many of those kids when they were 5 and 6 years old in football and upwards basketball. I was their coach. R.J. Johnson's daddy was a great athlete, was my son's basketball coach, my oldest son's basketball coach. I've known these kids. R.J. really was as good in basketball as he was in football. Colton, Colton, basketball, football, baseball, and part-time track. Colton won a state championship in the relay and track. Player of the year in baseball. Colton really is a pro baseball player. When he went to Auburn, they gave him $1 million rating, but one of the reasons why he wanted to leave because they wouldn't let him play baseball. Colton's been dunking basketball since he's 10th grade. Colton is 6'1", 6'2", 195, runs a 4.4 40 with a 39 40-inch vertical. He's a
uber athlete,
freak of nature for sport athlete. So I coach a lot of these kids in Atlanta, in Macon, Georgia. We've traveled AAU. I've coached AAU 15, 20 years. And so I just know a lot of the kids from across the Southeast and really from across the nation. I watch what's happening. Basketball, football, all the sports. Mike Cameron, who's a baseball player, played 15, 18 years with Seattle Mariners. Mike and I came up together. Our sons were best of friends. And so his son, Dasman, baseball player. So if it's baseball, I'm familiar with it. Keaton Mitchell is another name I want you to remember. Keaton Mitchell is now with the Baltimore Ravens, right? Running back. Keaton Mitchell was replaced in the backfield, guess by whom? Brandon Hood.
Wow.
When Keaton Mitchell went to East Carolina University to begin his college, Brandon Hood, as a ninth grader, took over the backfield. And Brandon Hood, in my opinion, you might think I'm crazy because Keaton Mitchell is probably one of the fastest players in the NFL. Brandon, in my opinion, is a more complete running back than even Keaton. And that's big. That's a tall order. But I'm telling you,
that's huge to say.
Yes, he's 200 pounds. You see him? He's not as fast. He's not as fast as he's amazing.
Man, but I'm excited to see him. You know, if he can perform like Michael Welch did as a freshman and making the impact, and we're just talking about the spring. We haven't even gotten into the season yet, and he making the impact from day one. You know, with the same mentality coming from the same area. That's going to be excited to see exactly what they can bring. I'm my eyes are all open for it. I'm ready for it to pop off. Let me see here. In the chat, of course, I want you guys to put your city, your state, and your country checking in from. Go ahead, put an amen in the chat for Pastor if you want to do that right quick. You know, I see some in the chat already. Pastor, go ahead and let them know, because I know that you're pretty heavy on social media and things of that nature. Let them know all the things that you're doing on social media, where they can find you at, and plug some of your music and you know, things of that nature.
Well, I appreciate it. On X or Twitter, I'm at Dewey Smith. That's EDEWEY. Instagram, the same, at Dewey Smith. On Facebook, I'm Dr. Dewey Smith on Facebook. And my website is edeweysmith.org. And so all things pertaining to the church or the nonprofits that we run, some of the community things that we're doing. All those things can be found on edeweysmith.org. And the only thing left, I just got to add my Colorado Buffs page to, because I love the Buffs, go Buffs, and
That's right.
I appreciate the Buffs going back way to when Bill McCartney was there, and Cordell Stewart and Rashawn Salam. I love those guys back then. So honestly, I've been a Georgia Bulldogs fan all my life, but I had respect for the Buffs. But of course, when my brother and my friend became head coach, so I'm all Buffs now. I'm all black and gold. So we're gonna ride till the wheels fall off, and if the wheels fall off, we're gonna get some more wheels and keep on riding.
We're gonna get some more and keep on. I like that.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. I'm not gonna keep you on too long, but you have churches. Shout out all of your churches and where the locations are.
Hey, if you're in the city of Atlanta, we're at the House of Hope Atlanta. We're about 15 minutes from downtown Atlanta on the east side, the Decatur, where it's greater. We also have a church in the west side of Atlanta, about 30 minutes from downtown Atlanta, past Six Flags in the Douglas County area. So about 30 minutes from downtown Atlanta. And if you're in Middle Georgia, we have a location in Middle Georgia, the House of Hope Macon, in Middle Georgia, in North Macon. And we also have planted a church in East Africa, the House of Hope Rwanda. So right now we have ministry in all those locations with their own pastors. And so I'm just glad to serve, try to make a difference. And I just like to inspire people, you know what I mean? I just believe, that we all have a purpose. And the fact that we are still alive means there's something on earth that we're supposed to do. And I think we fulfill our purpose and we bring hope. And I want to just tell people, find your purpose. And if you're doing something that's not in your purpose, don't put it on your calendar.
Great advice right there. Don't put it on your calendar. Last ones, we got super chats coming in from Mama Tia with the $50 said, Chico, this hits home for me. Salute Dr. E. Dewey. You preach our spring revival, Beulah Grove Baptist Church, Augusta, Georgia. Dr. Davis. In 2005, overcome. I still have the VHS tape.
Wow. What a great church. Dr. Sam Davis, he's retired now. What a great friend. Some great people there in Augusta, Georgia. Some great athletes down there from Augusta, Georgia as well. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bless you. Bless you, Mama Tia. Bless you.
Mama Tia. And our resident insider, William Berry, said, I told y'all Cam Michael was going to be a sleeper this year because he have a rocket speed and cutting ability while in motion, an athlete. I said he either just as fast or faster than Dylan and Jimmy. That's from William Berry. Shout out to Cam Michael also. You can check out his prime parent, his mom, on an interview I did on Prime Parents, and you guys can get to know Cam Michael pretty well. What were you going to say, Pastor? Sorry to cut you off.
I was going to tell you, I was, when people come and they leave for various reasons, Dylan was as an amazing talent, you know what I mean? And, we shout out to him, wish him nothing but the best in his future. But with Brandon Hood and Draylon Miller and Cam McHale, in the words of Travis Hunter and Shadua, we good.
We good.
Trust that. I mean, Brandon Hood is running back a 10-8 after having his ACL torn his junior year. He's not even a track star. Okay.
Not even full speed.
He's not a track star. He's not a track star. And football speed. Listen, people will see. I just tell you what. Watch him when he hits that corner. Watch Cam McHale. This is a whole different ball game.
Oh yeah, Cam McHale, Draylon Miller, and now you add in B Hood. Oh man, that speed on top of speed coming out of that backfield and at the wide receiver position. Athletes is what you need, and that's what you're adding around Shador Sanders. I'm loving it. A couple other questions because we got chat going crazy right now. We got people checking in from the DNV. Who else we got? Alabama, Georgia, Snellville, Georgia.
What up, Georgia?
Oh yeah. Pastor said, if you don't enhance me, finance me, or advance me.
They heard me.
Okay.
Yeah. You got. Yes. Somebody been listening.
They listening. I got you. Can you ask Pastor if he ever seen the meme of him screaming in the mic?
Listen, that thing. I did an interview with CNN some years ago, and I think I was singing actually, and they took that meme and it's been used probably the last decade. I chuckle every time I see it. Matter of fact, I post it myself periodically. If you can't beat them, join them. Sometimes the best way to do it is laugh at yourself. You know what I mean?
Right. I tell them each live, hey, Y'all ask me about my hair. I say the best joke, I'll post it.
Yeah.
It got to be good now.
Yes, sir.
If not, I'm gonna get back on. I'm gonna fire you up. If not,
Yes, sir.
so. All right, but we got Oklahoma checking in, South Carolina, D.C., North Carolina, Florida, and everywhere in between. Pastor, I call you Coach too. I'm gonna ask you this question right here. This is the last question, but
No
you kind of
problem.
set it up because you say you travel with your teams back in the day, and of course you're in Georgia. But we've seen a poll go around saying that Florida has the best athletes out there. I'm gonna ask you. I'm from Alabama, and I've of course played in Florida and Georgia. Where are the best, I would say, concentration of athletes out there? And we're just going to speak on football.
Well, I would say when I played, I would say Florida. When I played, that's been 30 years ago. Now I would say the best speed may come from Florida.
Mm,
I think the best overall athletes right now come from Georgia.
there we go. Okay.
I also think you got to look into Texas. There's some
Yep.
dogs there, and also I still think it's still to me a lot of great quarterbacks were California bred.
Yes.
I see some trends kind of changing, but I think California produced great quarterbacks and some good athletes. Texas, Florida, but to me overall right now, Georgia's a hotbed. I'm just
Georgia.
it's hot. It's a hotbed. I don't mean that, and that great athletes from everywhere, but Georgia has some. If you want to win a program, you got to have some dogs from Georgia.
Got to have some dogs from Georgia. All right. Y'all let me know in the chat. Let us know in the chat. Where are the best concentration of athletes for football? Is it Georgia, Florida, California, Texas? And I'm going to say Alabama because we got some of the best. But
That's
Mississippi got some old schools to fight about when they could bring up the old school like Walter Payton and Jerry Rice.
yeah,
Myself, I could say Charles Barkley and Bo Jackson,
yeah.
Florida, of course. But, but nowadays, Pastor said, you got to get some Georgia dogs. All right. So that's what it is. Pastor, I appreciate you joining me,
Man,
on the
thank you,
whim right now.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Yes, anytime. So we're going to continue to build off of what you have put out there with these athletes coming in from Eagles Landing and stuff. And I'm sure there's going to be more to come, and we're going to be staying tuned. All right. Any last words for everybody out there?
Hey, we're still working today. Do me a favor. One thing I want to say about yesterday with everything that hit social media, don't spend so much time focusing on things you hate.
Yes.
So many people hate Colorado, but why you spend time on the things that you hate? Don't spend so much time and energy on things you hate. There's no productivity there. Spend time and
Mm-hmm.
energy on things that you love and that you would
Mm-hmm.
call. And so don't spend a lot of time on things that you hate. Spend time on things that you love and your purpose to do, and watch your life continue to excel and grow. So keep pushing.
Thank you so much for those words, Pastor. And we're going to keep pushing 100%. And definitely, I'm doing what I love out here. And thanks, Coach Prime, for all he's provided for everybody out there. And I appreciate the chat joining in. Y'all stay tuned for more, man. It's been another edition of Big Dog Chico Show with an exclusive interview with Pastor E. Dewey Smith. All right, stay tuned. More to come. We'll be back for more. All right.
Call me anytime. I'll be honored.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.